Well, good morning and welcome back to H3 TV, my weekly talk show where we talk about how to stay hopeful, healthy, and happy in the disruptions of life. That intro is new for me, so it must be a new Zoom thing. I had two thoughts on my mind this morning that I wanted to ask you to comment about, and please feel free to write any questions or comments throughout the show. But the two thoughts on my mind this morning were it's hard to wait. And I was curious, what are you waiting for? I have so many friends and family waiting on something, waiting on a kidney, waiting on a liver, waiting on a diagnosis, waiting on a treatment plan, waiting on a relationship, waiting on an offer. No matter what it is we're waiting for, sometimes the waiting's even harder than the information we receive, even hard information. And so I just want you to know that those of you that are in wait this morning, waiting for what's next in your life, in your journey, in your health. You are in my thoughts this morning and in my prayers. And I wondered if you could share in the comment, what are you waiting for this holiday season? And how can I pray for you and pray with you that you be blessed in the waiting? The second thought I had that I wanted to share with you that I love about all the time is generosity. I know a lot of people talk about gratitude, but I love generosity. And I was thinking this morning, will you share with me who will you be generous to this holiday season? I know yesterday was Tuesday, but I was thinking, who could you be generous to? And there have been these men working outside my window for months now, rebuilding a house. And I told my husband, I just got to go do something generous for them. And I'd like to do it anonymously, but I don't know them and many don't speak English. So I just wanted to go up to them and say, Feliz Navidad. Can I give you something generously that brings me as much joy as them to give? So will you share with me, who will you give generously to this year beyond your friends and family, kids and grandkids? Who can you generously give to? An organization, an individual, anonymously or directly? Who can you give generously to? Because we know joy comes when we live beyond gratitude into generosity. So my thoughts, what are you waiting for? Please share so I can pray for you. And who will you give generously to this holiday season? Thank you for being with us on H3 TV. Today, I have my friend and guest, Michele. Please welcome to the stage, Michele. Hey, Michele, welcome.
Thank you.
You're
Nice
welcome.
to be with you.
Oh, happy to have you. I love the yellow today, the color of hope. We're always reminding our listeners that color matters. Put some color on. Green is health, yellow is hope, and we are here to pour a little hope and health into your life. Actually, green is health, wealth, and growth. So maybe we will grow through this conversation. Michele, we like to talk about disruption or change or challenge. So when you think of that word, just a general definition of it, what do you think of with disruption?
Obstacles, challenges, confusion, maybe, the
Mm.
unexpected, maybe.
Unexpected. I like that. Unexpected. Yeah, it could be a lot of different things depending on how we perceive it, how we think about it, right? How our mind masters it. I love that. How about you personally? What is a personal or professional disruption or challenge that you've faced in your life?
I have faced vulvar cancer, which is a rare form of cancer.
Okay.
That was disruptive since I've been throughout my life a strong, healthy person. So one doesn't think about getting disease at all, having run several New York City marathons, things like that. So I would say that was a disruption. And yeah, I'll just quickly say I did conventional and alternative approaches to it. I combine the two, working with energy healers from I live in New York, so as far west as New Zealand, as far east as Italy, and was able to heal it within 5 weeks.
Wow. Within 5 weeks. That's amazing. Is that your throat? What part?
Near my vulvar area, which is near my vagina.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So I'm like, is she saying back here? I couldn't think of the word. So, okay. Okay. So vaginal kind of area of cancer. Yeah.
Yes.
I unfortunately have had so many friends go through cancer and going through it still. And so we know that's real. We always think about our listeners as like, what are you facing? And this morning was just on my heart. Like, what are you waiting for? A diagnosis, a treatment? And you're right. There's lots of different ways to treat our body. And I think it's such a great reminder that no matter how good we eat or how much we exercise, none of us are, what is the word I'm trying to think of, like excused from it can hit any of us, sickness, right? And yes, we should do our part, but we can still get sick. And so how did you, first in the diagnosis, just initially, how did you stay hopeful? What did you do when you heard those words, the diagnosis?
My memory, and this is the best I can answer you is you're surprised. Because I said healthy my whole life. And secondly, Annie, I really trust the universe, meaning if it shows up or whatever shows up, I'm saying, okay, this may not be what I had preferred or would like, yet I know there's more to this gift than what it appears. And that's honestly how I live. It's that level of trust that I then say, okay, let me see what I need to see, learn what I need to learn, and guide me however I best need to be guided. So that level of trust helps me through a lot of obstacles and chaos, frustrations, and challenges.
Yeah, I bet. I love that really what you're talking about is perspective. Like you decided, I'm not going to be devastated. I'm going to be open to what can I learn from this? Why am I here? Curious, be curious rather than pity. I'm curious why I'm here and I'm curious what I can learn. And you sound like you were very open to what resources are out there across the world that can benefit me. And so next I always think about how do we stay healthy? And, as we talked about a little bit before the call started is that health is lots of things, right? We're one being and we have a mind and emotions and we have physical health and financial health that can sometimes be burdened when somebody gets a diagnosis, spiritual health, universe for you. What were some of the tangible things you did in the midst of that diagnosis? Obviously you have a very positive mindset to go, okay, I'm going to stay open and not be overwhelmed. And that's a gift I want our listeners to hear, is that it doesn't have to be a death sentence diagnosis, that there is hope. We just lost a friend to cancer recently, 4 rounds. But what did you do strategically or intentionally to stay healthy in the midst of that?
So I worked, again, in addition to chemo and radiation, which was the conventional component of it, I worked with energy healers, as I said, that wide over the world. And I then really had them teach me. I worked with breath, I worked with sound. I allowed very different approaches to lead me. And one of the, sorry about that, I'm in Midtown, I know.
You're in New York. What do we expect? Yeah.
Manhattan, and they're in traffic. They're just stuck in traffic. I don't know how. Anyway, moving right along, it has moved on. So what I did, Annie, to answer you, something like that, like just accepting that there's nothing I can do and move on. So I have that practical component of me to do the best I can, and that be sufficient, right? And can I make it better? So again, working with various energy healers, I'll just pick one. So again, as I said, sound and breath and different approaches. And one said to me, Michele, what I need you to do is to see your tumor as your beloved. And that stopped me in my tracks. And I said, what?
Wow.
And she said, I need you to see your tumor as your beloved. And what I sat with, which is what you asked the question to be, what did I sit with? I've heard and believed, love is a great healer, right? All we need is love.
Yeah.
And I'll say to your listeners, there's this gap between what we know and what we live. And so my question was, okay, Michele, here's the challenge. How can I literally live this truth and love my tumor? And when you said, how did you do it in 5 weeks? Instead of going through motions and having any doubt, really being present. And again, right, the mindset, yes, and the heart that says, I got this, right? I can love me, not only the good parts of me.
Yeah.
Again, another expression, love all of me, the bad parts. This is a part that right now I would otherwise say I don't like, but that's against what I want to accomplish.
Yeah.
So I'm going to even love this part of me that is killing me and see what happens. What have I got to lose? Really, what have I got to lose? But except practicing this very difficult lesson. And so I'll end by saying that is really in my blood, learning from everything, even though I sometimes make a crunched face and go, what?
Yeah.
Just willing to expand, what's acceptable and be able to honor my feelings. I'll say that was another component of it. Was there a part of me that was scared or doubtful? And I allowed those moments that is my definition of loving me, by the way. And then, in allowing those feelings, then I was able to, as we know, and this is a process, as we allow it, we're able to move through it and release it. And I believe this combination of approaches or tools led to that healing. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, super helpful, Michelle. And I think it's so counterintuitive to love a part of ourselves that's hurting us, to love a part of our lives that's hurting us, and to also release, to love it and release it at the same time, like to have that. So when you say energy work, are we talking, is Reiki what we mean by energy work?
So all of them were remote. One was I'm in New York. And as I said, we had New Zealand, we had Canada, we had California, upstate New York, so everyone was long distance. But energy, as some of us know, is just energy. It moves. We don't need to be literally in your physical presence. Right?
Okay. I didn't know Reiki had to be done in person. I don't know that much about energy work personally, so that's why I was asking.
So people who can move energy, let me just say, I worked with people who are masters at that.
Okay.
And can see where energy is stuck and see what needs to happen to, as we just said, put a different energy there and be able to. So, and let me just add to that. I put my own formula together, what I was eating, how I was moving, the activities, how could I bring myself more joy?
Yeah.
So I'm a very holistic person. I would advocate that approach, quite frankly. There's no silver bullet, as I understand it, to anything. Yeah. So I always take a holistic approach and, had my own practice, if you will, in addition to the conventional and energy healers that I worked with.
Okay. So, in saying that, I'd love to hear, Michelle, sometimes people need like a tangible, what are three things I can do every morning if I just faced a diagnosis, or if I'm in just low energy, I'm just overwhelmed by life, I'm overwhelmed by the holidays or a diagnosis or a death or whatever our listeners are going through. Is there three strategic things they could do every morning that you kind of worked for you, were a part of your practice?
Right. So I offer actually many of my clients a 5-step holistic tool. Okay. Each step takes 3 minutes. So it's only 15 minutes of your day, which eliminates the I don't have time.
Exactly.
So, but the 3 of the 5 that I would choose for you is affirmation. So if I have cancer, it would be, I am immediately, completely, and permanently healed in every way. Mm-hmm. Just giving you
Love it.
Medical example. So, and I'd write that for 3 minutes. And that's using neuroplasticity. I'm rewiring my brain, right, from a different thought. I don't need to give examples of that, to this outcome. And I'm putting it in the present moment.
Excellent.
Okay. Number 1. 2, breath. I'll just also be specific. It's called a box breath. So you inhale, hold, exhale, hold the same amount of time. And I would suggest inhaling through nose and then holding and exhaling through pursed lips or mouth, if you will. And so that affects our vagus nerve, talk about that wonderful, and our nervous system. And our nerves have a great deal to do with how we feel, stressed and nervous, etc., versus calm and peaceful. So number 2 would be breath. And I would add number 3. I'm trying to choose between the last 3 parts. I'm going to say support. So by that I mean to just take a few moments and literally, in a very Socratic, I love Socrates, curious, you used the word earlier, way, just sit and say, how can I support you today? Right? How can I really provide you with what you need now?
Yeah.
Right. And it need not be, again, the outer. It could simply have your hands on your heart and say, I'm with you. I believe in you.
Nice.
I'll have your back. Right. So it is that level of compassion. And let me add, in that 3 minutes, just imagine either a person or place that you too want to send healing to and support. It could be Gaza in the Middle East. It could be Sudan. It could be what just happened in South Korea. It could be our country. I mean, there's a wonderful feeling. You talked about generosity. So that's what I do every day. Yes, I take responsibility for supporting myself, and I offer it to a person. I don't need to use the phone. I can't send it energetically, but you can. You can pick up the phone or an email or text, excuse me. Um, or
We'll communicate. Yeah.
all the ways we do it, or you can just do it, from your heart. So
Um,
those would be the three I'd suggest.
Perfect, Michelle. And maybe you can put all five in the comments when we're done with the call later today. Just add them in. So when people are left hanging, they want to know, hey, what are the other two? I want to know. So please feel free to put all five in the comments after we get done. How about happiness and humor? When we're facing hard, it's easy for, especially if we're not intentional in our perspective and our thinking, to focus on the dread, the fear. But I know what a gift it is that laughter is one of the best medicines, and we have to find humor and happiness in that hard. So what were some of your tips for finding humor, finding happiness, finding joy in the midst of the pain?
I would say, people, friends, conversations, right? I mean, I was just so deeply touched by how many people cared, checked in with me, flew in from other parts of the world to be with me during chemo. So I think we have all know that how important relationships are,
Yes.
and the joy, or even being on Zoom for people who couldn't fly in,
Yeah.
and as I said, all of my energy healers were remote. I'll just offer, if I can, what I do now that I wasn't able to walk or lie down or sit. I mean, again, you understand where now my cancer was.
Yeah.
So all of frying that area of your body 5 days a week is makes walking and sitting hard. But today I'll just add, in addition to laughter, Annie, play. And so when I now go to the gym, in addition to working the machines, I jump rope, because as a child, that was my joy. I found joy in jumping rope. And
Yeah.
now when I jump rope, I feel like a 5-year-old again, personally.
I love it.
Or I'll just give one other example. Here in New York, we have a new tall building. It's called the Summit.
Yeah.
And you go and you can up to the 91st, 92nd, 93rd floor, and there are mirrors and balloons and all different experiences. It's play. So my friend from Italy came in and said, okay, I'll take you out for dinner for your belated birthday. I said, oh no. She says, what do you mean no? And I said, can we play instead?
I
So I'll
love it.
just offer to us adults who I appreciate, go to dinners and sit down, theater or movies, etc., to possibly consider play, whatever that is for you.
I love it. I love when I used to own the gyms, I'd say, don't go work out, go play out. Remember, we used to go outside and play, not work. Okay, I have a curious question that has nothing to do with anything other than my own curious mind. I am not a runner, but I always think when I see people running, are they running towards something or away from something? So when you're running, are you running toward or away? I'm always curious about that. Any thoughts on that?
I'll answer you honestly. That is my time to be very present with me. So I have the ability to focus. I amaze my gym friends by saying every week I do a 62-minute meditation. Again, I studied with the master of Kundalini yoga when he was alive, both in India and here. So I'm gifted with that ability. And I would say that when I was training for the marathons that I ran, I just really didn't put any stress on would I get there, would I not. I just said, just be. And for me, I just was peaceful. And so I ran them without this tension of concern about how fast, how slow. So I was supporting me, Annie. I felt like as I ran, let me just say this about that. I try to also live my life as much as I have visions and goals. I commit to being present, because I say to myself, Michele, and I'll say this to you, all we have is this moment.
Yes.
And so let me make the most of this moment.
Yes.
And as long as I do that, then my life is very rich and rewarding. So I appreciate our achievement orientation.
Yeah.
And I'd say we can do both. We can be in the present and be appreciative of what we have.
Yeah.
And at the same time, step by step, move towards whatever goal we're seeking to
Yeah.
reach.
I think your work and your intentional living really probably helps you too with sirens out living in downtown New York. There's so much noise there. There's so much distraction that if you do not get grounded, you'll always be distracted. So it's a beautiful thing to think about how intentional you are living your life in many different ways so that you can serve your clients, so that you can care for yourself, all of those things. Another curious question I have is, if you could speak to yourself prior to the diagnosis, what wisdom have you learned since the diagnosis that you would have told yourself prior?
There isn't anything I can't do. There really isn't. I know that might sound unrealistic. And so I'm not saying in a nanosecond I can do something.
Yeah.
But I really do have the perseverance and the trust and the belief and the resources. I don't do things all by myself either. And I would say that to everyone here, please know that many things we were not meant to do alone by ourselves, that we have
Things.
resources like you, right?
Yeah.
And my clients also, appreciate some of what I offer.
Yeah.
Some not so much, but some yes.
And I don't think we're supposed to do anything alone. And I think we've kind of lost sight of that. And so we start to I got to do it all and I got it and I don't need anyone. And I grew up kind of with that, a mom with that mindset. And I remember at 21 realizing it is not weak to ask for help. It is a gift. And it's a joy to ask for help. So it not only helps me to not do it alone, but it also helps other people that if they support me, they know I can also support them and we can support each other. Michele,
can I just add, and to be unattached to whether they say yes or no.
Yeah.
Right. I know we don't want to sometimes ask because you're going to say no to me and then I'm going to be very sad.
Yep.
If I'll just say, if you ask with that openness, and again, it's energy, right?
Yeah.
I'm either asking with, oh, please say yes, or pressure and you can feel it.
Yeah.
Or if I'm really saying, hey, Annie, you free tonight to go out for dinner? I mean, right. And whether you say yes or no, I know it's perfect.
Yes. Not being attached to that outcome, not having to control it, letting go, and it will be what it is. Michele, we're kind of winding down, but I have another question I'd love for you to share with our audience. And that's, do you have a success story with a client you have worked with? And where did you take them? We don't need their details, but kind of where did you start? Where are they now? And what was your role in being partnering with them on their journey?
So I'm working with a lot of women in the MENA region, Middle East, North Africa.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of them have many, I'll say, challenges, cultural and otherwise, or just being in an area that's dangerous, disrupted.
Yeah.
And I would say, Annie, I focus on the inner, helping women recognize what's holding them back. And again, it could be as simple as mindset or belief, deeply ingrained belief systems.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it doesn't matter. And I won't go into the specifics, as you said. And just watching them, recreate in this space. I hope your audience, you told me how much people enjoy your space, feel safe enough to be themselves, explore, yes, their strengths and their weaknesses. Yes, I have a belief that may be holding me back. And again, through the 5-step and other, I have measurement tools to be willing to have the courage and trust to look, and acceptance, right? I can accept all of me, right? We go back to even the parts I don't like. Yeah. So I can move from where I am to where I want to be. So I would say many, many challenges there are being presented to me there. And the same that we've been talking about: support, acceptance, perseverance, and again, where am I coming from now? The energy that I'm offering myself in this moment, with compassion.
Okay, so lots of just different clients, not one specific success.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I guess maybe I didn't want to. You said not to. So a lot of different obstacles,
Yeah.
whether it be, I shouldn't be making money. I'm told that if I make money, I'll leave my husband, and I don't want to do that. And like you go, no, okay, let's discuss that.
Okay.
To many other examples of long or deep beliefs that are holding women back.
Okay. So working with women on success in shifting mindset, beliefs of things that don't serve them any longer. That's like, hey, we want to be free. This is what we're thinking, Michelle. And you're saying, does that make sense? Does it serve you? I love that. Beautiful.
Right? And giving a tool and an action plan. We actually create data
Okay.
at the beginning of when I work with them, and then towards the end, an action plan in the middle, and a way to measure results, not just outwardly, but inwardly.
Okay.
Respecting their boundaries. An example might be to say yes and no, and be able, right? We struggle sometimes with no. So to honor your boundaries enough to say with grace, no, Annie, I can't go out tonight, but can we do that another time? Or however you want to say that, right?
Yeah.
But to be saying it in a way that I'm coming from grace, right? And not, okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love also, I have a good friend that's a dietitian. We always talk about, we get together and it's always like, let's eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, happy hour, whatever. But let's get together and play. I really love that, Michelle. I'm taking that away from today to remind myself, we don't have to say yes or no. We can say yes. And what if we don't sit, we do something playful and joy-filled because I need movement or I need to have positive energy in my life. So I love that. Michelle, we're kind of winding down here. So if my audience wants to connect with you, what's the best way to get connected with you?
I would say LinkedIn, if they would do that. Do you want me to put that in the chat?
You certainly can put it in the chat. You can also put it in the comments after our show ends, so it stays there as well. They can connect on that. But I just appreciate you being part of the show. Look up Michelle on LinkedIn, ask her additional questions. I know myself and Michelle will be happy to answer any questions, to respond to any comments. We always appreciate learning who's listening, what you're learning, and what you're going to implement in your life today. So thank you for being with me, Michelle. Thank you to our listeners, and we'll see you next week on H3 TV. Take care.
Bye, Annie.